IVM.
The audio quality here isn't great this time, but it's a heartfelt conversation with my mum, and I really wanted to share her wisdom with all of you. Please do listen. Thank you. Welcome to another episode of This Round is on Me. Every year on Mother's Day, I get asked by someone to name the woman who inspires me most. And I feel this pressure to name someone famous who's done something groundbreaking. But let's be honest, half the time, we don't even know these people personally. So are they really our mentors and role models? More often than not, when I get asked this, my answer usually is my mother. And to know how she really impacted me beyond the obvious, this week I decided to invite her on the show. So, hi, Mom.
Hi.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning with your childhood. How do you think that shaped the person you are today?
Very difficult. If you want to ask me, I had a very privileged and very sheltered childhood, and of course, I'm sure it sort of was great at one level, but I think at another level, I was I had quite a lonely child. Sense that all my friends used to live in apartments and in the city. I used to live in a very beautiful house, a little out of the mainstream city within Kolkata, which is where I grew up. And so I could never just walk out of the house and go and hang out with somebody in a neighboring flat or something. It all had to be arranged beforehand and had to be kind. So anyway, that was fine. And the plus side sure was that I got the best. I traveled a lot, and that was. But I have to say that then afterwards, when I came to Bombay, when I was married, when I had my own children, I just felt that this was not this kind of luxurious upbringing. It's not what I wanted for them. I thought that they needed to taste blood a bit, and so you know the rest. You can fill in those gaps as to how it is sometimes. What we have, we sort of go to the reverse, which I have seen actually even when I see you people bringing up your children. But so anyway, so that was one reaction that I had when it came to bringing up my own children. I really threw them into the deep end.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. But okay, before we start talking about me and my siblings, what about your mom? I mean, can you share a bit more about her influence on your life? Of course, she passed away when I was still very young, so I didn't get to know her as well. But, can you sort of talk about how the things that still resonate with you about things that she may have told you or taught you or stood by?
I think one of the things which she did was to really expose me to books. I mean, she used to, I wouldn't have known where to go a little bit except from school or school library. But she really exposed me to a lot of books. She would always buy books for me. And as I said, because I was so much alone, I developed a reading habit, which I think I owe to her. And, the other thing which I remember, which I was not able to pass on to my children because I really didn't have that knowledge of maybe inclination. But she wasn't herself, didn't, I think, study beyond metric or whatever, got married early and everything. But she was a very intelligent woman and she had sort of, so to speak, developed and studied herself. But anyway, so she used to, read stories out from the Ramayana and the Mahabharata and all that to us. And she sort of again exposed me and encouraged me to study the Hindi texts as well. Because, it was always, I mean, I studied English literature, but I also took Hindi as one of my subjects in Hindi literature. It was not easy, it was a tough going, but I just felt that why not. So, in that sense, I think maybe these two things come to my mind.
But how did that impact you?
that means one thing is that it sort of, I felt I was very well read. And the other thing was that, of course, though she never sort of told me, go and study, do and this, that, I was like quite self-motivated. But if I had a problem, and again, she sort of wanted me to have a little bit of art training, a little bit of dance training, a little bit of, so all that was there. But gradually those things fell off and only what I enjoyed remained. But so, there was this kind of like, I was the only one around, so she, I guess, wanted to give me all those inputs. I don't know how they directly impacted me, but that was, I think,
It's something that you valued.
yeah, and also the fact that sort of if I did well in my studies and all that, then they always encouraged me and always kind of patted me. So that was also, I was like quite doing well basically in school and all that was something they encouraged, but they didn't have to kind of push me to go and study, go do your homework or anything like that. So,
Mhm. I mean, something I'm honestly very grateful to you for, and, other than the obvious, is instilling a sense of confidence in me. I think that it really has so much to do with who I am today. I sort of always I always availed of opportunities. I kind of didn't feel shy to, ask for things, from whether it was in school or work or anywhere. And it opened up a lot of doors for me because I just had the confidence to ask. How do you think that you managed to do that? And or what do you think was, for lack of a better term, your guiding philosophy while raising us?
I have to tell you that I was not the most confident person myself growing up, and I always felt that I could do better, or that I was also not so much could do better, but I don't think that I was like so confident of myself on certain other fronts. And I don't know that I consciously did anything to give you confidence, but what I think I did do was to, I think one motto that I value still, and I don't know if I said it to you in quite those words, but it was like one of those autograph sayings which people write. I don't know if today the young people even collect autographs, but we used to get different people to write them. Is that whatever is worth doing well. And if you don't want to take it like to its nth degree, then just don't do it. And of course, this I think has I've had criticism from, I don't know you or which, but from some of your siblings about the fact that I maybe always pushed too hard and was never satisfied. But I don't know where you draw the line actually. I mean, either you go the whole way, or then and a young person is not going to make that effort of doing difficult things if they can help it. So to that extent, perhaps I did push too hard. I don't know. I mean,
No, I completely remember you saying this. You always telling me this, and that, if you're going to do it well or don't bother. And I think that the effect that had on me was to actually make me a perfectionist, which is a good thing for the most part, but sometimes that backfires.
so I also have that problem, that I sort of, when I paint, for instance, I have often destroyed something which should have been left alone in this pursuit for perfection. And I, in fact, have been trying to unlearn that as over the years. This thing, and this kind of slightly wanting the house to be in a certain way, everything, to be sort of just right and well done. So that can go a bit too far,
Yeah.
and I think each one has to sort of go through that process and realize where they are overdoing. I know
Yeah,
that
I think.
in the last few years, definitely, I have felt that in my case, that pursuit for perfection has actually led to negative results for me. So I've been making an effort to let go.
That's very strange. I mean, it's interesting because I agree that a lot of what I was able to excel at was because of that pursuit for excellence, and I guess interchangeably used with perfection. But I think that, like you said, as I've also grown and now with work, learning to let go, not be that control freak that I am in that same pursuit is definitely hard. And it's a struggle. But I think on balance, it has really contributed positively to who I am today. So, and you touched on this earlier when you talked about, your mom or your parents giving you a lot of exposure through travel and books, etc. That's another thing which I think gave me a lot of confidence, just because I just had knowledge of things and I was able to sort of talk about things outside of my immediate world of school and the extracurricular. And yeah, I think, whether it was music or the arts or travel again, I think they all sort of stood me in great stead later on in my life. But, now that you're sort of saying you're talking about unlearning things, in retrospect, do you think you would have done anything, you could have done anything differently?
See, I don't like to carry this guilt baggage because I feel that whatever I did when I did was the best that I thought was the best. Now, in hindsight, you never know how each person, like something which works for one person may not work for the other person. And that also, I feel, sometimes people in hindsight, they complain about those things, but actually they are what they are and they've achieved a lot of that because of that. Then afterwards they feel that, okay, maybe this is not so important. So, it's very easy to talk in hindsight. And I certainly tell anybody if they ever kind of, cast any, aspersions and what I could have done, is that listen, it's everyone comes in a package deal, and I was a certain package deal, you're a certain package deal, and you have to take the good with the bad, take the positive things, and if you feel there were certain, now that you realize that you're older that some of them were negative, then throw them out and deal with it. That's your sort of karma or your package over there. So I certainly don't like to think that. I'm sure I can, if I sit and make a list, I could have done this, that done. That's not who I was at that time.
So I have to tell our listeners that we have these epic breakfast sessions at my parents' place where we completely tear each other to shreds over many things.
Over nothing.
Over nothing, exactly. But it's a lot of what you're talking about is this tough love, which is one of the things that we've talked a lot about. And you like we mentioned earlier, you never let us sort of settle for less and pushed us to do our best. How do you think as a parent one should draw the line between pushing kids to their potential and having that sort of positive reinforcement and knowing when to kind of stop pushing?
See, yeah, very difficult. Now, like I have seen, and I think perhaps it's a reaction to my, what you might call tough love or whatever, that I have seen that some of you children, that you have gone to the other extreme at times. And maybe that is your reaction. Like I said, that I had a reaction to, sort of throwing you all in the deep end or whatever. So you also may have felt that, this tough is all okay, but I want some cuddling, I want some, let it go, I want them to have sort of junk food as much as they want or whatever it is. So I don't think that there's any rule. I think you just play your own gut and follow your own instincts and see how your child, develops. And again, what you do will come out of your own experiences. So I don't think that there's any formula that I can suggest.
So, you have three, by the way, I'm one of three girls, and we're sort of quite a few years apart between us. Obviously, no one size fits all. So did you have a difference in approach in dealing with each one of us? Because either I was the last one and the first one may have been different, and, you're learning along the way as a mum.
Yeah, I think that definitely there was a difference in dealing with you compared to the other two, because you're like a generation apart almost, 10, 12 years. So in those 10, 12 years, I guess, things had changed and I had changed and seen more and experienced more. So I think I think I would have perhaps been more lenient with you than with the others. And I don't really actually, that basically I think basically, not pushing. I don't think I pushed you that much.
Maybe relatively not, but I think I got my fair share of pushing. But you were a work from home mom.
Fortunately, one thing I will say is that, all three of you, I never had to tell you go study because I remember saying that, listen, you work as much as you like, and those are the rewards you're going to get. So I'm not going to come and sit and be a watchman for you and say, go do your homework, do this. You want to study, you want to do well, you'll do well. If not, and you're happy with that, that's okay too.
So I think we all read between the lines and went and did our work quietly.
So I mean, whatever the reasons were, I do remember that was my philosophy. And I said that I don't want to have to sit and monitor anybody. If you need any help, you need any advice or any guidance, then I'm there. But I'm not going to come and say, I'm going to do this, going to do that.
So, you were a work from home mom, you're an artist and your studio was at home. And we've had debates, especially when Dia was a lot younger, about my work hours and, my sort of how I was raising her, considering I have a full-time job. Do you think I could have done things differently? Or, and one of the reasons we've had this debate is because I always said, you weren't working full time in a job and you weren't running a business like I am and all of that. But do you still think that I could have done things differently now that we're a few years on?
Well, I do think that, she missed out on having a more of a parent, and it showed because then she would come and be so clingy with you, and came home, then she would be kind of, then you would not want to correct her or say anything to her because you felt you would be. So I think that there is that problem. So then again, I feel that if one can make a little bit of a balance, okay, if I was working from home, I was there when you came from school and, sat with you while you had your tea or whatever it was. And I think those little things did make a difference. Just knowing that some parent is there when you come home from school, whether you talk or not, they're there. So I think that on that front, I definitely feel that if you're going to have a child, then do it in such a way where you can balance your work and at least for a few years. And I think that gives them that confidence. I think that she still telling on her actually.
Okay, I'm going to scratch that question. I'm just joking. No, I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's no perfect way of going about this. But
no, but you were away the whole day, and you were sort of like she was all alone, and you can't really say that you send her here.
But Mom, I'm not the first working mom. I mean, there are so many women who may not.
Maybe you could have come home for lunch or something. I don't know what. A little bit of that kind of balance could have been done.
But that there are. I mean, putting me aside, because obviously,
of course there are.
There are
people, and they have to do it, and many of them are doing it because they can't. They need the money.
Yeah, and they don't have that flexibility necessarily. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's true. But I'm saying that if that had been possible, that would have been the ideal thing. Since it wasn't, then, okay, she's that has been your story with her. And now, hopefully, that won't impact her in any way.
Hopefully. Another thing that I really owe you is that you taught us from a young age to be financially independent. You taught us the value of that, not just the value of money, but about how to sort of plan and have that independence, which is so important, and especially for women. I mean, of course, this is for any child. But how did you learn to manage money?
See, again, I'll tell you very honestly, I've been very fortunate. And I've never lacked money personally. But the fact that I've not lacked for it didn't mean even if you want to tell me to go and splurge, in fact, I'm always being told by you people that you're so whatever tight-fisted or whatever. You never go and spend. You never go and I can't, for instance, go and buy whatever it is, $100 Birkin bag. I can't.
Not quite $100, Mom.
I don't know, whatever it is. I don't even know. So that's my. But what I'm saying is, I can't get myself to do something like that. So maybe that again is like, it's like and it's because again, as my childhood also, I said, there's no lack of anything, but I was given a very fixed pocket money, and if I needed anything, if I wanted,
To explain yourself.
yeah, I would have to explain myself, and I probably may even have got it, but it was not something which was like I could just go and. So I grew up, with a sort of value for money, and I don't know, for not like uselessly going and just because you have something, you just go and spend it.
But it's not just about not spending and saving. It's also about, planning for your future and securing yourself, because you never know sort of what turn life takes. And I think it's that I'm also asking that, how did you, especially because you did have everything, how did you still have that foresight to, inculcate in us the importance of,
I don't know that I went out of my way to inculcate it in you, but I know that at a certain point in time, for various reasons, we had been through some financial difficulties. So at that time, I felt that kind of made me feel that one thing which I was very sort of clear about it is that children should have good education, because according to me, education is what gives you the ability to stand on your feet, and it's like give us a what shall I say,
foundation.
a foundation, and so for that you need money if you want to give the kind of education which you people had. I mean, I don't know today when I think of it, I don't know. In those days, it was also relatively there, but going abroad, studying, I'm not even sure really whether one needs all that. But anyway, at that point in time, one felt that this was the best one could do for the children. So one did it. So, again, even if you had money, felt that it's better to conserve it, because those things that shouldn't run out till that is done. I wouldn't go spending on weddings and all those kinds of things. But education and all is an important.
Yeah, and I guess in wanting to save for that, you would invest wisely, and that's probably a lot of where it came from.
Perhaps.
Yeah. There's a sort of side effect or something that comes with financial independence is just having independence at large. And I often have this argument with Jay, and for all of you listening, that's my husband, about sometimes not knowing where to draw the line between too much independence and then also knowing about compromise. And, do you ever feel that having too much independence is sometimes doesn't allow you to learn how to compromise?
I don't know about what is too much independence. I think that again, this is where your values should come into play, because I can't say that one should not be independent so that you could learn to compromise. You should be able to do both. But yes,
Sure.
if you have the financial independence, you are in a position to sort of, so to speak, do your own thing more than somebody, like
Make decisions for sort of,
for yourself.
for yourself. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
So I
there are
guess,
so many people, for instance, in a marriage who would love to walk out but can't because they don't have financial independence or a home or something like that. So they're sort of stuck. Now, I don't say that if you have money, then, at the first stat, you say that, okay, I'm walking out. So, I mean, those are, I don't think the one really should include the other.
sure. So your kids are all over 40 today. Is the worrying any less, or is it just different?
No, I mean, I'm not worrying is a bad, not the right word really. I'm not worried because I think that what one has given you a head start, now you should be able to fend for yourself. But yes, I mean, to that extent, but still, when I see certain, problems which any of you may be facing, then it does affect me. I mean, in the sense that if I can help in that, or if I can, it does, of course, bother me. But there isn't any like day to day having to deal with things. I mean, you're all old enough.
What's your best advice to me at this point of time in my life?
Oh, just do the right thing. You know what the right thing is always, actually. One always knows. Just do that and be happy. And as you said, don't be too, perfectionist, tense. Now whatever is there in you. You won't do anything which is not well done. But let go also.
Sure. So we've come to the this last segment of the show, which is called the rapid fire, and just say the first thing that comes to your mind. What's your one favorite comfort food? I asked this as a restaurateur.
I think puri aloo or something very desi, very vegetarian. Puri aloo would be something. Puri aloo, dahi vada, pani puri. Those are the things which come to my mind because basically I grew up vegetarian, then I turned non-vegetarian. But again, now that I'm older, I do eat everything, but my preference is always for the sort of these things that I
Grew up with.
yeah. I mean, like puri aloo, macaroni, cheese,
All the things that are good for you.
all the things that I'm not supposed to have, I'm sure, because of what various uh, health situations. But
A great book you've read in the recent past.
actually, it's a difficult question. What I'm reading right now, I'm not sure about great book, but certainly a very interesting book is the Obama's The Promised Land.
Yeah.
So I can't say that I think it's a great book, but I'm so wrapped into it. It tells me so much about the man and about many things and even situations and what it means to be in all those things. So I wouldn't call it a great book, but I would say that I'm right now engrossed in it. Great book is, I think some of the Indian writers, who've written about somebody like say Perumal Murugan or some of the others, I can't even remember their names, but written about life in the village, about caste. Some of those books really move me a lot, and I've read several of those in the recent past. But the Adivasi will not dance for you, and I'm just telling some names like that. And it's which are really about reality, but then there are Perumal's is it one part woman and some others. In fact, one part woman is a famous one, but some others of these and another couple of writers, they sort of get under the skin without being completely realistic or just any layers that they sort of.
What's the best investment you've made in your journey?
Best investment? What are you talking of money?
No, just something that you've done that you think has impacted you. Something that that you may have, anything. It could have been a course, it could have been just something that you spent time, money, invested your energy in.
I think the best investment I can think of is, bringing you up, three of you up, way to be able to stand well on your feet. Perhaps that's the best thing I feel.
Fair enough. Who have been your role models or mentors?
Who would be my role models? I've never really thought of, like, I think I look to different people for different things. So I don't think I've got any one model. I mean, like I may think of somebody who's, say, an artist whose work I like and manage to, also, have a family. I can't think of any one person.
You're not alone in that. That's me most of the time when I get asked this. So that's a fair answer. Any message to all the mothers out there, since this is coming out shortly after Mother's Day?
Don't let your children take you on a guilt trip ever.
Okay, I don't know if that was to all the mothers or to us. Okay, fair enough.
You're also mothers, so for your future, your children tell you should have done this. And the other thing is that, whatever you have done when it comes to your children, it's Mother's Day, according to them, you should have done it the other way. So, again, don't worry about it, because if you've done the other thing, you should have done this. So, just.
Fantastic. I will remember this for sure with Madam. But Mom, thank you so much for being on the show. That was really fun. And thank you for being very open and honest. And I hope everyone had something of value to take from this today. To be honest, I was initially nervous about bringing my mom on the show to have a candid conversation that could have maybe got a bit too candid. But I'm so glad I did today in celebration of mothers everywhere. She had such a big part to play in who I am and for which I'm eternally grateful. If you ask me the one thing I know as a mom, there's no rule book. Do your best and do it guilt-free, and know that the kids will be all right. I hope you enjoyed tuning in today. Do catch the earlier episodes when you get a chance, and more importantly, I would love to hear from you with your thoughts on the show. You can find me on Instagram at Gauri Devidayal or on Twitter at Gauri Details or LinkedIn. Either way, sit back and relax because this round is on me.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank our sponsors on the network this week, Cred, Siet, TheWholeTruthFoods.com, and PayPal. We really do appreciate the support. On Cyrus Says, we discussed quite a bit about the local assembly elections this month. Vasanti Hariprakash was there to talk about the West Bengal elections, and then we also spoke to Pradeep Gupta, a psephologist and author. He's the chairman and MD of Access My India. Do definitely check that episode out. Great conversation. Tune into This Round is on Me, where Gauri Devidayal caught up on the latest trends in the PR industry with Archana Jain from PR Pundit. On The Habit Coach, Ashton Doctor spoke to Anandita Chatterjee. She's the founder of Travel Chatter. She's been a marketer with some large firms and has traveled to 67 countries so far. It was a RuPaul Drag Race fan club on KBCD where Farhad and Sunetro discussed the show's best moments and talents. Amber Rana was joined by celebrity fitness trainer Shivoham on New Year Kanun to discuss fitness laws and regulations in India. They talk about the laws and infrastructure that exist to protect gyms, trainers, and also consumers in the fitness industry. And on the note with Maruk Inayat, we have clinical psychologist and friend of the network Sonali Gupta. She talks about ongoing mental health issues like survivor's guilt, coping with anxiety around the pandemic, and doom scrolling. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
Come learn and experience the ABCDs of being queer with me, Shunetro,
and me, Farhad,
on our show Gay BCD.
The two of us take you through our stories and experiences of being gay men in the city of Mumbai and have candid
and sometimes downright scandalous
conversations about sexuality, gay culture, and everything in between.
Catch new episodes of Gay BCD every Tuesday on the IVM Podcasts website, app, or wherever you get all your podcasts from.